Scott Mason right here, everybody.
See, I started with a punch.
There you
You
go.
see that? There he is.
Welcome,
Man, he's
Scott.
one of my favorite people in the whole world. Scott Mason right here.
I love being able to be on the show of people that I am a fan of. So thank you so much for having me. We're going to keep it real tonight.
Oh yeah.
Well, we're definitely excited to have you here. I'm particularly excited because I think you're probably the first guest that in the pre-show I haven't had to ask how to pronounce your name, because I'm pretty sure it's just straightforward. Everybody else, it's this like there's one aspect of their name that's complicated that I have to find out how do I pronounce it, and then the entire intro I'm worried about, am I pronouncing this right? Did I just mess it up? So thank you for having an easy name to pronounce.
Oh, I'm changing it now. I'm changing it. You made me realize I need to do some shifting.
Sounds good. Well, let's get to that introduction. I'm going to read a little bit over here from your official bio, and then we'll get to hear your bio. So Scott Mason is our guest today. He is a speaker, author, podcaster, and coach who works with executives and successful entrepreneurs who are feeling stuck or stagnant in their career or business. After graduating from Columbia Law School, Scott worked for over 20 years as an attorney and senior executive with a variety of organizations in the government and the nonprofit sectors before successfully growing and scaling a manufacturing company. His insights on leadership and transformation have appeared in both book compilations and online magazines. Scott combines his wealth of large organizational and entrepreneurial experience with a long-lasting and deep love of Greek mythology, with all of its fun, excitement, and deeper universal meanings to help his clients dislodge their toxic myths, to ignite charisma within, and then magnetize and monetize professional freedom. Holy cow. That's an impressive bio. Like, this is my first time reading it.
Who is that person you were talking about? I don't even know him.
the spectrum of experience you have there, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's insane. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Tell us more about who you are and how you got to where you are, going through that journey of a law school, a manufacturing company. I think somewhere in there, I don't know if it was in the bio, but I think from our previous conversations, you have something to do with acting or like radio acting or something like that, right? Just to talk to us about who Scott is and your story and your journey and how you got to where you are today and what you do.
So I don't have much of an experience in acting or radio acting, but I do have experience being dramatic. that's just because it's fun. Yes. I was actually born in London, England. I was the son of a woman who was in graduate school there studying linguistics, and she had an affair with a man who was visiting London as a law student. And out popped my cute little face. I was even cuter then. And two graduate students that were of different racial backgrounds in that era could not keep that child for a number of different reasons. So I was immediately put up for adoption as an infant. And I was raised by two American Midwesterners, African Americans. I crossed the seas. And I was brought up in the American Midwest, Kansas to be particular, the outskirts of Kansas. And from an early age, as long as I can remember, I didn't fit in. There was no one like me there. It was a milieu that had nothing to do with who I was, what I wanted to be, or how I self-conceived. And I remember, y'all, I would go as a teenager out into the wheat field, not that far away from my house, day after day, and I would go jogging and jogging and jogging, 5-7 miles a day, and I'd tire myself out. But I had that time jogging in the fields all alone, just so I could be away from people. And then I'd look up at the stars at night, and I'd dream about living somewhere different, somewhere better, finding freedom. Eventually, I came here to New York City for law school. And as you all mentioned, I practiced for 20 years almost in government in a variety of legal and executive management roles. Later went into the nonprofit sector, did my second C-suite stint with the nation's largest domestic violence shelter services provider. It also ran homeless shelters, and then went into the manufacturing sector and eventually transitioned away from that journey into the one that I am on right now. identifying freedom for people who may be trapped, stuck, spiritually deprived in the lives that they're living, and looking to make a change, looking to fulfill their providential purpose. And I feel honored every time I have even a small role in helping someone do that.
Wow.
That is unbelievable. Incredible. And let me just say, something that I found fascinating about you was recently you've been sharing a lot about, in your post that you post on LinkedIn, Greek mythology stuff and how you connect that into, the professional world and stuff like this. Now I'm, you got me at the professional stuff, like I'm a sucker for that stuff. I'm not so big in the whole Greek mythology thing. Anything that's not real, not like practically real for me is, it's voodoo stuff. It doesn't work for me. And I'm gonna say that your stuff is literally the only Greek mythology, whatever stuff that I ever read, because I absolutely love how you make that connection between these stories and these these mystical creatures and all that stuff. It ties in, and so I know that's not really part of what we've discussed, but I would just love to hear what got you started with that. Like, what was that connection? To me, it fascinates me.
I'm sorry. Did you not hear his story just now? Like, his story was like a story, like a mythical journey. Like, I even have it written down to ask about it because like that was the most like Greek mythological journey ever.
Oh gosh.
Okay, Scott, you take the
Tell me what I'm not seeing here.
Y'all will get me going off here. Thank you, first of all, for these very kind words about the post that I put out there. And I will say there is actually a spiritual component to this, although I didn't understand it at the time. So now, growing up in the backwoods of Kansas, our definition of an exciting, glamorous vacation was very different than the definition that I later came to find out the fancy schmancy people in places like New York City, where I live now, have. One time we went to Denver, Colorado for our vacation. And my mom took me and my little sister through the downtown area, and we were just looking in shops and window shopping, and we went into a bookstore. And y'all, I'll never forget that moment. I think I was 9 years old. I saw on a table, standing upright, the cover of a book called Delari's Book of Greek Myths. And this full color illustration on the book had the sun god from Greek mythology, Helios, on it. And it was like I was struck by lightning. That spoke to me so powerfully and profoundly. I went and I grabbed the book. I think it was $12, which was like $1 million to little 12-year-old me. And I paid it. I actually have that book right here by my desk to this day. It spoke to me. I felt Helios within me. And all through my life, no matter how many ups or downs I've had, whenever I've needed to envision who I was, what was possible for me, and what I truly had as an essence inside, it was Helios that was there. So Helios, I would say, is actually a part of my spirituality, even though, as you said, hear me, I do not believe he actually exists, and I certainly don't worship him, but he symbolizes, as do so many of the figures in mythology, the deepest components of who and what we are inside, sometimes very much our spiritual essences.